Stop over-processing your vocals. We're talking about the minimal vocal recording method. The minimal vocal method. Most vocal mixes fall apart for the same reason, okay? Too many plugins, too many guesses. The minimal vocal method fixes that. My name is Donnie Baker, and I am here with you to talk about why we created the minimal vocal method. Clear vocals don't come from more processing. They come from better decisions. Do you get that? Clearer vocals don't come from over-processing. They come from better decisions. Well, look, we're in the middle of our minimal method stuff. We're all about that. Look, we're talking about systems, okay? And this is part of our systems is, let's get back to basics, man. Basics are where it started. Basics are where we need to go. The part of the problem is, and this is, you all know this, part of the problem is that people are watching too many YouTube videos. They're looking at, they're buying, they're copying templates. They're buying templates that are just stacked with plugins on your vocal chain. Bro, please stop. This is why we created the minimal vocal method. Over-processing of your vocals is way too common. You have endless plugin chains. Bro, I've seen people have 10 inserts on their vocal chain, and then they send that out to an auxiliary track so that they can add 10 more. You don't need 20 plugins on a vocal. Fix it in the mix mentality. Bro, if I hear one more person say that, I've actually heard engineers during the recording process say to the client, don't worry about it. I'll fix it later. I'll fix it in the... How many times have you heard somebody say that? Oh, we can fix that in the mix. We got auto-tune. Bro, you have no clear workflow. You need a clear workflow when it comes to capturing your vocals cleanly and awesomely. Is that a word? It is now. When it comes to capture your vocals awesome. Capture your vocals clean. If the vocal chain looks like a science project, bro, something is wrong. Something's wrong with your chain if it looks like a science project. Seriously. Here's what the minimal vocal method is going to focus on. Bro, this is a whole series. Last week we did the mix method, which I was asked to do the mix method, the minimal mix method first. You guys were asking me for that, so I gave it to you. Now we're on to vocals. Next, we're going to talk about drums. Then we're going to dive into, I don't know, basses and guitars. Then we're going to talk about mastering. All this is minimal. Bro, if you keep everything minimal, everything's going to come out cleaner. Everything's going to come out better. Everything's going to come out bigger. And everything's going to come out faster. So you're going to get more done in a shorter period of time, which means you could do more. Which means at the end of the day, you're going to make more money. Isn't that what? We're here to make great music. We're here to get paid for what we do. These are why our systems are in place, okay? Great. You got to start with great vocal recordings, which involves gain staging. Level and balance before you're processing, get everything sounding good before you go process stuff, okay? Intentional EQ, bro. If you're gonna use an EQ, use it intentionally. Don't just throw an EQ on there because somebody said you should have an EQ on there. Don't just throw compressors on there because somebody said you should have a bunch of compressors. If you don't need a de-esser, don't use a de-esser. You're adding to the process of it when you do these things. Bro, if you're honestly, I'm gonna break from it for a second. If you feel like you need a de-esser on your vocal, try something first before you go just throw a plug-in on there and add more processing to it. Try angling the mic a little bit differently. Pull the artist back away from the mic. Change the microphone. The microphone might be the wrong microphone. You know, I mean, not every vocalist uses or is happy with the same microphone. Or let me rephrase that. The same microphone is not happy with every vocalist. You know, have multiple different microphones. Have a dynamic mic. Have a large diaphragm condenser mic. Use these things sparingly. Pull it back. Dude, honestly, even use 2 pop filters if you need to. Before you reach for a de-esser, try some other things first, okay? keep your effects simple. And no, dude, never print your effects. Never print reverb and delay on your vocal. That's one of the, never print auto-tune on your vocal. These are some of the worst things you can do. You know, don't, if your artist needs auto-tune in their headphones, awesome. Set that up on a Q send. Set that up on an auxiliary send and send it to them in their headphones. Don't record it. You shouldn't listen to it as an engineer. As the engineer, you should listen to the clean vocals. If the artist feels like they need something in their headphones, honestly, yes, absolutely. If the artist feels like they need some reverb and delay in their headphones to help them feel in the vibe, perfect. But just for the headphones, don't record that. So the biggest vocal mixing mistakes: EQ stacking, multiple EQs, overcompressing. Overcompressing is one of the bigger mistakes. De-essing too aggressively. And you start de-essing too aggressively, man, you're gonna start sounding like somebody's got a speech impediment. You know what I'm saying? Overusing saturation. You can get this stuff cleanly in the recording process. Soloing, I'm getting heated, I'm getting mad now. Soloing your vocals while you're mixing. Bro, the whole word mixing means you're blending things together. You need to hear your vocals in a mix. You don't need to solo your vocals in it. Yeah, look, if you're working on your vocals, if you've recorded your vocals and you're editing your vocals, and yes, you might need to go in and hear something specific, but that's not mixing. That's fixing, which we talked about last week, and I'll link to it here. That's about the minimal mix method. You can go over and look at that other video and check that out. That's part of the mixing. That's part of the mixing process. Don't solo things in the mix process. Most vocal problems start before the very first plugin. Think about that. Most vocal problems start before you start adding plugins, because you didn't record it clean, because you had the mentality of, oh, I'll fix it later. We're good. What happens when you simplify the recording and mixing part of vocals? Vocals sit in the mix faster, bro. They're just going to be right there. Less fighting with the instruments because you're keeping it simple. Natural tone, the natural tone of the vocalist is going to stay intact. Okay? And mixes, your mixes are going to translate better. It's just that. The vocals should feel present, not processed, unless that's part of the vibe of the song. If that's part of the song, they're having the vocals like super distorted and super saturated, or in hip hop, man, you might just super saturate that with auto-tune because that's what the vocals need in the song. Yes, but what we're talking about is clean vocals sitting in a mix properly. Okay, why this matters for your workflow. Let's bring it back to the business side of things. Okay, you're gonna get faster mixes with fewer revisions. All right? You're going to have consistent results. So your clients are going to keep coming back to you. Your clients are going to be referring more clients to you, okay? Because you have a repeatable process, because your vocals sound clean, they sound clear, they sound big, they sound present, they're up front, they're right in the middle. Everything about your vocal chain sounds great, and your clients notice, and they keep coming back, okay? Professionals rely on systems, bro, not guesswork, okay? Who this is for? Who's this method for? Let's talk about that. Engineers overwhelmed by plug-in chains. Bro, if you've been watching YouTube videos and those YouTube guys are telling you just to stack and stack and stack, you need 3 EQs, you need 2 compressors, you need an EQ for this, you need an EQ for that, you need this EQ, you need a de-esser. No, okay? Producers who want faster results, that's who this is for. Second, career engineers who value efficiency. All right, so you've already been in the workplace. You may have had a job for 20 years, and now you're breaking out of that job and you're going to go be an engineer and a producer, and you're going to open a studio because that's your love, that's your passion. Awesome. This is for you. Who's this not for? Okay, this is for people who like to collect plugins. Bro, no. Preset surfers. Yeah, look, I have my preset. When I go to record my vocals, I have my preset. Cool. It's simple though. Okay, my preset is super simple. I don't have a lot of stuff on it. I actually don't have anything. I rely on my input chain, on my gain structure. You know, okay, yeah, look, if I'm going to use an EQ, if I'm going to use a compressor, I'm doing that on the recording process, and I'm doing it slightly, just so it sounds. I always say that, and everybody should say this, make your thing sound the way you want it to sound, and press record. Okay? We shouldn't have to say anything else. That should be it. Okay, see you later. No, the system behind it. You get a repeatable vocal chain, you get a structured workflow, and you get intentional listening. You're the engineer, bro. Listen intentionally, okay? Listen, and the key word there is listen, okay? If it's not repeatable, it's not a method, okay? Keep that. So we're gonna pick one of these, and I'm gonna say it right straight up, man. Simple recording chains is gonna equal better vocals, okay? Clarity beats complexity every time. This is why we've been talking about the minimal everything. Minimal mix, minimal recording of vocals, minimal recording of drums, minimal recording of guitars and basses and other instruments. And then we're gonna talk about minimal mastering. Look, I want to invite you to join our free Skool community. I will leave a link in the description, and there'll be a link in the pinned comments. So go check that out. It's free. Come over and hang out with us. I think you'll like it. It's a lot of fun. It's a very active community. There's a lot of people in there. We're talking about stuff. We go live 2 or 3 times a week. So come hang out. We'll see you over there. I'm gonna leave a link to the video from last week right here, the minimal mix method. Enjoy that. My name is Donnie Baker, and we will see you next time.